Hello, thank you for being in a new video. This time I'm unboxing the Motorola Edge 50 Neo. Let's get started. This device, I anticipate that it could become one of the most recommended this year. Although the review is still missing, but join me to know it. For now, the launch price could surprise you. In Mexico, it has been 8,999 pesos. On the screen, you see the reference price in other currencies to give you more or less an idea, although remember that the prices here are not the same as over there. But I must tell you that, considering the price context in Mexico, this device has a very attractive price for the specifications it can offer. So let's take it out of the box to get to know it already. And then the first thing we come across is this phone with a very intense color. It really is very intense. Of course, there will be more colors available, and remember that this whole color palette is always chosen in collaboration with Pantone. They've done a very nice job, and one thing that's hard to show you in this video is that it has scent. So the only thing I can show you is this. It smells like they put perfume on it to give it to you, so it's a touch that Motorola is giving lately to their devices. I must confess, the first time the sensation is a bit strange. Then I got used to the fact that Motorola devices smell nice. Let's turn on this device, and while it's turning on, we see what else comes in the box. Since in this case it's not as slim a box as lately other manufacturers are incorporating in this price range, so let's take this out. And as you might be noticing, it does come with a charger. It's actually a 6 to 8 watt charger, although generally Motorola builds in chargers that are more powerful than what the devices actually support, for some strange reason, but in a moment I'll share with you the specific numbers it supports. Now it also incorporates the cable that is from USB-C to USB-C. The good news is that it is a cable with a good enough length, and in this case it comes with some orange highlights so you can distinguish them more easily, since you must use the original cable if you want it to support the fastest possible charging. Very good news with the fact that it brings integrated charger, but that's not all that's in the box. In fact, note that it is also going to integrate over here AI. The case comes with regulatory information and the tool to remove the SIM card. But what I love about this case is that apparently it is made of recycled plastic, but I like that it comes with the same color of the device. That is a very nice detail. It is not a transparent case that over time will turn yellow. It is a case that also gives a good style to the device. So in this case, I would not mind using this device with a case. I usually resist using cases because they are very boring. They take away the nice touch to the design of the device, but in this case, I think you should use a case for the device. But in this case, I think you will like the fact that it comes with the same color of the device. But in this case, I think it gives you a good style without sacrificing protection. The truth is that applause for Motorola this year and last year have been doing a very good job, because we must also consider that in many stores also include wireless headphones with what you would take the complete kit. In this case, I do not have the wireless headphones, but I insist if you search well, you can find stores where that accessory is included in the box. Then really the experience of a boxing of this device has been very satisfactory, but this does not end here. Let's now get to know the specifications so that we can continue enjoying this good device. It has a thickness of 8.1 millimeters and weighs 171 grams. Really is a very comfortable device in the hand. Very light, slim even, is a compact device. Integrates a screen of 6.36 inches in its diagonal. That causes that practically you can use it comfortably with one hand. Today most devices are very large. Today, most devices are very large. This device bets for being compact, but not so compact that it sacrifices too much battery or sacrifices too much display space. I think it has the ideal size for those who like compact devices, so I really find it very nice in terms of these dimensions. But it is not only a nice and compact device, but it also integrates the IP level of resistance against water and dust. So it definitely gives us very good resistance and has Gorilla Glass 3. although in that it could disappoint, because in this price range we expected at least Gorilla Glass 5. So if you have a special protection, say on the screen, but do not expect it to be so resistant in that aspect. So I think it would be important to use this device with a case. Fortunately, the case has a small relief to prevent the screen from hitting directly, but it is not so high. I would have liked to see a slightly higher relief, considering that it does not have Gorilla Glass 5, but I think it is still a good proposal. This screen has resolution 1.5K, is a panel OLED with 120 Hz in its refresh rate and a peak brightness of 3000 nits. So it is a really spectacular screen. In fact, it has a slightly higher resolution than the average of even more expensive devices. So the screen is very good wherever you want to see it. Of course, it also has stereo sound with a speaker at the bottom and a speaker in the earpiece area for calls. The front camera is 32 megapixels with an f-aperture of 2.4 and fixed focus. I do not think it is going to be a spectacular camera, and as you will notice, there is a big difference between the preview and the final result of the photograph. In this case, I think it manages to make a good balance of lights and shadows, also maintains a good level of detail, although the colors I think are a little more than the best. I think the colors are a little more saturated than usual. As I say, I do not think it is going to be a spectacular camera in this aspect. Consider that it has two ways to interpret the colors: the natural setting that supposedly gives a little softer colors, but I took the picture with that natural setting and still the colors came out very saturated, not disappointing honestly, but I do not think it is one of its strongest points in the back. We will find that it has two modes of interpreting the colors. Strong on the back, we will find three good cameras. Has 50 megapixel main camera with f1.8 aperture and optical stabilization. Something outstanding here is that it incorporates the Sony Lithia sensor 700, a sensor of last generation. Then we find the ultra-wide angle camera of 13 megapixels with f2.2 aperture and autofocus. So it also serves as a macro camera and also has a telephoto camera with zoom 3x of 10 megapixels with f2.0 aperture and optical stabilization. Has a very good aperture, although the resolution of the sensor is a little short. So even though it has telephoto at maximum zoom, I have the feeling that it will not have as much detail, but the low resolution also helps to have a little larger pixels, and combined with the f2.0 aperture also gives me the feeling that at night we will have a good performance with the zoom. But let's take a quick and easy look at the results that this camera gives us. I think with the ultra-wide camera, we see a good experience. In this case, does not have colors as saturated as we saw in the front camera. The main camera also gives us a good feeling. Colors look good. Applying zoom 2x still retains a good level of detail, almost as if it had a telephoto camera. 2x this, thanks to the incorporation of this sensor. Sony really helps a lot. Now you are seeing the photograph with zoom 3x, and again it still has a very good quality. So the range from 0.6 to 3x gives us an excellent quality. Later you are seeing the result with zoom 5x. It still has a very good quality. Now the photograph with zoom 10x, and in this setting I think the quality is still really very good from 1x, which is the maximum zoom, is where you will notice that there is not so much detail, but from 0.6 to 10x we will achieve a photograph of very good quality. So really the photographic system that it incorporates could be the best in its range today. A curious fact, I am noticing that the case scratches quite easily. I simply passed the nail and it was completely marked. I cannot erase the marks of the nail. Look how curious that is, something that I did not like so much of the case, so much that I had liked. I cannot believe it. For video recording notes that yes, you can record in 4K, but only at 30 frames per second. If we want to record at 60 frames per second, it is going to have to be in full HD, and neither the ultra-wide camera nor the telephoto camera is available, although it does let us zoom, but it stays completely digital. It does not do the camera switching, so possibly video recording is not one of its highlights either, but fortunately it can record in 4K with any of the cameras as long as it is at 30. The battery has a capacity of 4310 milliampere hours. Evidently it is a smaller battery than what we are used to. Since it is a device whose priority was to be more compact and thinner, even so, it seems to me that it did not make such a big sacrifice in the battery, but it is possibly its weakest point. When I make the publication of the video review, I will share with you the figures of how it looks and how it looks like. I will share the figures of how it compares to other competitors, but possibly the battery will suffer a little. Fortunately, has 68 watts charge, even supports wireless charging 15 watts. Just note that you have to turn on fast charging if you want to take advantage of it. What it does not have is reversible wireless charging, but in this price range could not ask for it. In fact, it is already excellent news that has wireless charging. This device comes with Android 14, and remember that Motorola offers a pretty clean experience, but every time with more and more options added inside Moto, and obviously only with the regulation that has to include from Google. In fact, as you know, it looks like Android Google instead of pure Android. However, as I tell you, nowadays Motorola offers good tools, like for example this sidebar where we can open applications in a floating mode, something that we don't really have available in Android without any modification. We will also find fingerprint reader integrated into the screen, and support for networks without taking comes with 8 gigabytes of physical RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage, and in this case just out of the box without installing any application showed me 32 gigabytes used. I think it is a bit high considering it is not an operating system so advanced in additional functions, but fortunately still have much more free space. And finally, the processor is the MediaTek Dimensity 7300, a processor that is not going to be the most powerful of the segment. That should be clear, is not a device whose main focus is to give raw power for maximum gaming experience, but for the vast majority of people will be a processor more than enough. Enough in a single core gives us 1047 points in this test, and in multi-core 2976. To give you a reference, let's say that more or less is the performance of the Snapdragon 778 that was integrated into several devices and was a very good processor, at least in numerical terms. You know that in terms of numbers, you know that it is a very good processor. At least in numerical terms, you know that the actual performance we will see in the video review, but in terms of power, there is not such a big evolution over the last generation, and neither will be the most powerful of its range in Antutu. Gives us a score of 668,492 points. Then I insist that the Snapdragon is a very good processor, at least in numerical terms. 2 points. So I insist that the processor is not going to be the most attractive of this device, but in the review you will see how it performs opening various applications and games and more. For now, we have reached the end of this video. If you like this video, you know you can indicate it, and we'll see you next time. Isimopodback